There we go. Awesome. And please stick around because both myself and Ryan have some awesome giveaways at the end, some special offerings and some announcements that we will be doing at the end. So please stick around. Jen, I'm going to let you introduce Ryan first. I just want to introduce Elite a little bit more to give you some more information about what we do. So we are a real estate marketing company for real estate agents, and we have 3 in-house divisions, one being photography. So we do everything from iGuide to listing photography, headshots, agent bio videos, walkthrough videos, that kind of thing. We also have our graphic design department, and that is everything from branding, logos, seller's guide, buyer's guide, listing presentations, business cards, sales signs, all that kind of good stuff that realtors need. And then we also have our social media management division where we help agents from the beginning to the end, opening accounts to design, content and posting. So we're kind of that like one-stop shop for everything that realtors need in the marketing world. Jen, can you please do me a favor and introduce the fabulous Ryan?
Absolutely. First of all, I want to thank everybody for attending today. I think, education is really important to build our careers and all of that. So everybody who came today, really amazing. And I think you're going to get a lot out of this. We are so happy to have joined forces with Ryan Smith. We connected a few years ago, I believe, at the Buzz conference, and it's shocking that it took us this long time to get something together. But we have been collaborating. I'm super happy we were able to do this because I think everyone's going to get a lot out of it. Ryan was a realtor for 14 years and tended to move around a lot. So when you do that, real estate is a hyper-local type of industry. So you need to learn how to make new connections and to get new business fast when you do that. So he discovered geographic farming, tips and tricks and tools to make it work really, really well. And now he's an expert on it. And this is what he does all day long. He trains agents on how to grow their farms. So without further ado, Ryan Smith from Launch Your Farm. Thanks,
Awesome.
Ryan.
Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I'm really excited to bring my love and passion of geographic farming to you guys. And the great thing is a lot of the things we're going to talk about today don't have to be just geographic farming based. So you can add this into your business as a whole as well. There's going to be a lot of great tips and strategies that you can take away. So I'm going to jump right in, share my screen, and we're going to get started. So give me 1 second here. And I'm going to get this going. Can you see that okay? It should be loading now. Can you see the screen?
Yep, there it
awesome.
is.
Okay, so we're going to talk about how to dominate your market with 15 unique farming strategies. Like again, as I said, some of these strategies can definitely be applied to your business as a whole, but when combined in a geographic farm, they really enhance what you're doing and help you create more value and more opportunities for you. So we're going to talk about who am I? We're going to talk about what farming is, why you should be doing farming. I'm going to explain the scope method. It's something I've developed. We're going to go through the 15 different strategies. We're going to talk about strategy stacking. We'll talk about what's next. There's gonna be some bonuses for you, my final thoughts, and a Q&A. So we've already talked a little bit about me. So again, I'm a licensed agent myself. I have put that aside. I do sell here and there, but my main focus is focusing on training and doing the Launch Your Farm. As was mentioned, I've moved 3 times in my career. So I've had to learn to really start and pick up and learn new things and how to do that very quickly. And that's what helped me become even better at farming, is because I had to learn farming at a higher level than just the typical sit around and wait for it to work after a couple of years. I was the past host of the Niche Agent. You may have seen my podcast in the past. I was a past productivity coach in my office as well. I also ran a successful farm with my business partner, and I sold that off when we parted ways. He took over the farm and I started doing the training. And that's really what drove me into doing what I'm doing, is getting the success from my farm and getting that launched allowed me to learn how to do this, and then training other agents to do this has really expedited my expertise, and I want to pass some of that on to you guys. And I'm also the creator of the Launch Your Farm training and a show. So I have an online show that I run around geographic farming. I'm 2 years into almost coming up to 2 years now into the show. So there's 80 plus episodes in the show. So it's a ton of great information for you to check out. And I'm a speaker, trainer, and coach. My co-host is Ollie. You may see him. He's in the background sometimes coming and going. He's our pug. He's, I would say, the brains of the operation and the handsome one, and that's about it. So if you do see him, he may bark, jump around, just so you know who he is and where he is. He loves to sit on the couch in the back. So again, stick around for the bonuses. We're going to do the bonuses and then we'll do the Q&A for you as well. So I'm going to jump in with what is farming, because a lot of people have different concepts and ideas of what they think farming is and what they think farming isn't. I want to start off by saying what farming isn't. Farming isn't postcards and door knocking. That is the main thing that people think about when they think of farming. And when I've talked to hundreds and thousands of agents, most of them say, first thing they think of is I got to send out a bunch of postcards. And the reality is those are great strategies, but that isn't what farming is as a whole. Those are strategies you can use in farming, but farming itself is something more than that. And it comes from, like a real farm analogy, it comes from where you go out and you plant your crops, you tend to your farm, you watch it grow, you reap your harvest, and then you repeat. And we use that in our real estate business, where we focus our attention and time on a specific geographic area. So my definition, it's a long-winded answer that says strategically focusing your expertise, marketing, and prospecting efforts in one specific geographic area to build a sustainable business and long-term relationships. That's a long-winded answer to say you want to become the hyper-local expert in an area and put your time and energy in there. When you do that correctly, you can have a very successful business, but you have to learn to do it correctly. And we do that correctly by learning CPR. And this is what I teach all the time. It's the core foundation of what farming really is about, and really any business. It stands for community, positioning, and relationships. And at the core of that, we have to start with a community, and that tends to be our geographic area. It could be your database. It could be for sale by owners. It could be different subset of the community that you're working on, but the community has to come first. And when you put the community first, it shifts how you do your marketing, how you do your prospecting, and how you do your business as a whole. We have to put them ahead of the transaction. And when we are community minded, it changes what we do and why we do that. Then we have to learn positioning. And there's two ways to do this. The first is to be the ambassador for the community and the expert. And we can position ourselves by a lot of the strategies we're going to talk today about how to become that ambassador and how to become that expert. And that is the strategies that is going to elevate you very quickly and be able to get business very quickly when we do it correctly. And then lastly, we build relationships. The long-term goal of all of farming, or in all of this business, is really to build relationships. So everything we do should be through the eyes of the community, how we position ourselves and how we can build new relationships or strengthen the relationships we have. And when you reframe how you see farming and you look through the lens of CPR, it changes the opportunities you have. It changes how you do your farming, changes what you do and why you do it. But you have to really go back and look through this lens of CPR. Old school of just sending out a postcard doesn't pass the CPR test to me. It can enhance it when done correctly with other things. So we have to look at how we're going to build on that and add more layers in. So why would you want to do farming? There are so many reasons why you want to do farming, but there's a few that I really like. First is it positions you as that local expert. That helps you grow your business quickly and effectively if you've done correctly, and allows you to convert more leads. It also helps you lower your marketing costs if done correctly. You're not taking a shotgun approach, you're taking a sniper approach where you're being more intentional with your time and your money and your energy, and you're able to be more efficient. And when done correctly, it's much more efficient than traditional methods of trying to grow this business. It's also a sustainable business model in that if you focus your attention in a community and you keep doing that consistently with looking for new opportunities, you're able to build a sustainable business that continually grows and feeds you. Now, you can't just send out a few postcards or send out a few things and then hope that that's enough business and you're going to keep going. You have to always be growing and adding in layers and staying relevant. And we do that by using the scope method. And we'll share in a few minutes what that scope method is. And what it does is it creates a safety net for your business, where if one strategy stops working or a new rule changes or something like COVID comes out, it may change how you do your business. So we have to create that safety net using that scope method to ensure that we're reaching the most amount of people and getting the most amount of business. And lastly, it's a community-based approach. And the agents who've done the best and are the happiest with their farm really take the community approach to the next level and focus on giving back to the community and serving the community that they're serving. So we have a few different strategy styles, and what I developed is called the scope method. And this is how you ensure you have a balance in your business. And this is how you make sure that you're going to get more out of your farm and more out of your business as a whole when you put your strategies through the scope method. So it stands for self-promotion, community, online and offline, prospecting, and education. And I'm going to go through 3 different strategies you can do for each one of these methods to ensure that you have a balance in your business and to ensure that you've got enough ideas that you can take away and try to create more balance. And the reason why this is so important in creating this balance is you can be good at one of these or 2 of these things, but in order to get the most out of your business and the most out of your farm, you need to make sure you have all of these things tying together. And at the end, we'll wrap it up and talk about strategy stacking and how we can do that. So I'm going to jump right in, explain each one, and then I'm going to give you 3 different strategies that you can use for each of these. So the first is self-promotion. And this is what I consider traditional farming. When you think of farming, when most people think about geographic farming, it's very self-promotion based. And it's great, it works. But the thing is, it doesn't work as well as it used to, especially if you're only doing that type of farming. It's great for brand and name recognition, and that's awesome. But that alone is not going to get you go that extra mile for you. It's not going to create the total domination in the area anymore. So you have to make sure we're doing the other things. The other thing with traditional farming is it can be very expensive to reach a large audience. So we want to ensure that we're doing more and getting more with what we're doing. The other thing is with a traditional type self-promotion farming, if you're just talking about yourself and how great you are, it takes a lot longer to build trust. So we're going to share some things we can do in self-promotion to speed that up and gain more trust as well. And the other thing with self-promotion type farming is it doesn't capture everyone's interest. Not everyone's going to resonate with the self-promotion. That's why we want to have the scope method in place, that we are capturing more people in different ways so that we're connecting and really creating more value. And it doesn't work like it used to. I know this. I've trained a lot of agents. I've got agents who are 30 plus years in the business who've come to me and said, hey, what I was doing 10 years ago, what I was doing 5 years ago isn't working like it used to. I used to be able to just send this out or do that, and I used to get a ton of business. And the truth is, there's so many things fighting for our attention, and there's so many things we need to make sure we have in place that you have to ensure that you've got, again, that scope method in place so that we are creating more opportunities for people to find out about us and build more relationships. So I'm going to jump in and share 3 different strategies under the traditional farming and that self-promotion that you can use to help you grow your business. So the first is to change your thoughts on how you brand yourself. And one of the ways you can do self-promotion is not really promote yourself, but promote the neighborhood. And one of the things that we did in our farm was we branded the neighborhood. So we created the Orchard Real Estate team, and we were focusing on being the experts in that community. Rather than be the Ryan Smith Real Estate team, we were the Orchard Real Estate team. And it allowed us to create a much easier way to get in with people. It was easier to build trust. It was easier to become that expert because we branded the neighborhood and the community we were farming rather than just our face. When there's 50, and the last I heard in Toronto Real Estate Board, there's 55,000 or 60,000 real estate agents. When everyone's branding their name and their face, it's hard to stand out. But when you focus on a community or a neighborhood that you're farming, when you brand your neighborhood into your business, it becomes easier to be seen as the expert, and it becomes easy to do that quickly. With our first listing, we started farming in September. We got our first listing in January. And on the listing appointment, she said, well, you guys are the experts, so you tell me what to do. Then the next listing was, well, you're the experts. At that point, we'd never even sold a home in that neighborhood before on that first listing. I was new to the area. I'd moved there, had never even sold in that neighborhood before. But because we branded ourselves around the neighborhood, it helped build trust and build in a whole different way of seeing our business and how the community saw us. So that's one way to help promote yourself, but still speed up that process and get more out of it. The next is to position yourself as that expert. When you do that correctly, it doesn't have to be about real estate. And there's a lot of agents who are maybe part-time, maybe newer, who maybe not have a lot of sales experience, and they get hung up on that. I've never sold a home before. I haven't sold a lot of homes, or I've never sold a home in this neighborhood. And the reality is we can position ourselves as the expert in many different ways with never having to sell a home before. Like the last slide we just talked about, branding yourself as a neighborhood expert can help. Again, I'd never sold in the area. It helped because we branded ourselves correctly. But there are a number of ways you can do this. So you can become the expert in things to do in the community, or events that are going on. You can focus on local businesses. You can focus on the schools, what kind of programs they're offering, and the different school options. You can be the expert on market trends and prices. Again, you don't have to have sold a home before, but you can still showcase markets and trends. You can focus on the builders and developments. If you're in an area that has new development, you can find out all the models, all the builders, all the information that people would want to know. You could, if you're in an older area that has a lot of historical relevance, you could become the historical expert, or you could just be an expert on the process of buying and selling a home. And when you position yourself as the expert in your community, it becomes easier to do more transactions. It becomes easier to become that go-to person in your farm, again, without even having to have sold a home. Now, as you sell more homes, it becomes easier to be both. You can be the expert who sells more homes than anyone in the area. But if you don't do that, if you haven't done that, doesn't mean you can't farm. It doesn't mean you can't farm at a high level. We have to learn, though, to position ourselves correctly. And then lastly is business interviews. This is something that I am super passionate about. This is something I am I think is so important to do, is get out in front of the local businesses and highlight the local businesses in your area. Agents always ask, if I was brand new, what would I do? This is what I would do. I would get out and do interviews with local businesses. You can do very quick videos. You can do longer form videos if you want to, but get in front of local businesses. And there's a number of reasons why this is so important. The first reason is it gives you content for your audience. And this is amazing because you can create content that people are going to care about. If you just talk about real estate, there's only so many people that are going to resonate. But when you're highlighting local businesses and things to do in the community, people are going to resonate with that differently. The other reason why this is so powerful is that you are now building relationships with those local businesses. Those local businesses know a lot of people. If they don't, they probably won't be in business, but they have clientele. They've got people that they can relate to or connect with and connect you with, and hopefully refer you. And then lastly, the other reason why it's so important is it allows you to get in front of their audiences and do that in a quick way. I always teach, when you're doing your marketing, you should be looking at a one-to-many approach. And one of the ways to do that is by doing business interviews. Because if someone interviews me, I'm more likely to go out and share that. And I always say all the time, if I got featured in a newspaper, I'm going to go share that with my friends and my family. If I run a Facebook ad, I'm not going to go tell my friends and family and say, hey, look, I ran a Facebook ad, but I'm going to go tell my friends and family if I was featured in something, if someone interviewed me. So what happens is when we interview these local businesses, they in return are going to want to expose it to their audience. They're going to share it because it makes them happy. It makes them feel good that someone featured them. So a quick way to get in front of a larger audience in your community is to do these interviews. You can do them for next to nothing. You can either do it on Zoom. You can do it with your cell phone if you want to. If you want to go scale up and have more higher end equipment, you can do that. You can hire elite marketing to help you with the videos. The key here is creating good content that's consistent. And the more you do that, the more of a library you have, the more connections you build, the more value you add, the more that positions you as that expert. And it really promotes the community, but in return, it promotes you. And some people have asked, well, why is this in the self-promotion section? The reality is you're promoting other people who are in return going to promote you, and you're promoting yourself as that go-to expert. That helps you become established way quicker than just trying to promote yourself right out of the gate. So if you've never done these before, I urge you to think about doing business interviews. This is super powerful and can really help you grow your business. So the next is community-based, and this is what I consider social farming. It's different, generally speaking, it attracts a different audience than the self-promotion style. Certain people are going to respond to the self-promotion, but there's certain people who are going to engage and want to work with someone who's involved with the community and gives back to the community and is really putting that community first. The nice thing with community type farming is you can piggyback of other events and community connections that you've got. So if there's things going on in the community, you can jump in and be part of that. You can sponsor events. We'll talk about things you can do. And because of that, there's so many different options that you can do to become that community expert. The other thing with community-based farming is that it's a great way to put your own personal creativity on it. What I mean by that is you may enjoy outdoor stuff. Someone else may enjoy horseback riding. Someone else may enjoy board games. Someone else may enjoy nonprofit organizations and volunteering. And we can do things that we actually enjoy and things that bring us joy, things that we are going to be passionate about. I've talked to many, many, many agents who get burnt out in this business. And a lot of the times it's because they're just doing the same old grind of this business and they give up on the business or they get tired of it because it just becomes transactional. When you encompass community farming into your business, it allows you to revive things you enjoy. It allows you to connect with people who have similar interests and passions and hobbies as you do. And again, it helps you give back and do more in your community. Now, depending on what type you're doing, it can be expensive, depending on whether it's time or money. And again, we'll talk about some strategies you can do that are good on both. And it can be very time consuming if you're not doing it correctly. And some people can do a lot of the community and have a hard time translating that into real estate as a whole. So you want to make sure, again, why we're trying to create balance using the scope method. So I'm going to jump in and share 3 different strategies that you can use in the community side of things to help create more engagement and reach more people. The first would be why I love contests. And I love this. And a few people have taken me up on this and have done this, but the ones who have done say this is amazing, one of the best things they've ever done. And what it is a contest that you do in your neighborhood, in your farm, wherever you're focusing. and get the people who live there to create the content for you of why they love the area. You can sit there and tell them why you love the area and tell people how great the area is that you're focusing on. But when you get locals to share why they love it, it changes things because it allows the people to have a voice. They're excited because they have a voice. They're excited because their video could win. They're excited because now they're sharing things that they love about it. You're going to learn new things about the community. And the big part about why this is so powerful is you get all this great content that you can use in your marketing and in your online strategies and your social media. They're creating the content for you, and you can use this over and over and over again. You can create a montage, you can release one a week, you can do it once a month, you can highlight different things, you can create a page for find out why people love this neighborhood and why you'd want to move here. And the great thing about this contest is that it creates goodwill and it creates a great positive, my brain's not working right. It creates a good vibes for people, and then they tie that to you. So when they're sharing why they love the community, they're sharing what they love about the area, and they know that you're the one who's hosting this, it ties that to you. The other nice thing is you can tie this in with some of the local businesses. You could get some prizes and some giveaways from the local businesses. If you're doing business interviews, it's an easy way to do that. And you can have them create some awesome content and create some great giveaways that you can now use as prizes to get people to do this. And this is something you could do every year. You could do this over and over again, get new people creating new content. You get people who have moved here, who just bought last year, and maybe they just found out why they love the area as well. The reason this is so powerful is, again, it creates a story from the other people. And it's not just you telling people why they should love it. So if you've ever done anything like this, let me know what your thoughts are. If you've never done anything like this, give it a shot. This is something that can be done very well. The good thing with this is it doesn't have to cost you much money, but it's going to take time to orchestrate it and get it out there. So the next one is things to do in the area. You want to become that community ambassador. And when you do it correctly, you can do this very effectively, very efficiently, very cost effectively as well, and you can have some fun doing it. So for those of you on the call, you may not know my story, but I was living in Durham region. I've moved 3 different times. I started in the Kawartha Lakes. I moved to Durham region, and when I moved there, I didn't know anyone other than the girl I was dating, and then my boss, who I joined his team. And when I moved, I didn't have any connection to anyone. I didn't have any connection to anything in the area, and I was trying to think of things I could do to take my girlfriend on dates because I didn't know the area. So what I started doing was looking for different things to do. And then I realized that there really wasn't a lot of things to do or one place for that. So I created a blog a number of years ago. If you're in Durham, you may remember it. It was called 52 Things to Do in Durham Region. And I started showcasing different things to do in the community. And by 1 month in, I started having a good traction on this. People started connecting the dots of who I was. By 2 months in, people started really knowing who I was. By 3 months in, I had the mayor of one of the cities, I won't say who it was or whatever, but I got invited to a movers and shakers event where it was a closed group of who's who. There was 100 people that were movers and shakers in the community. And I was invited to be part of this panel to discuss how they can make the area better. I started getting restaurants and businesses reaching out to me, giving me things to give away and to do promotions. And what happened was by 6 months, I was super well connected. I had 1,600 or 1,700 people in my group that were getting my stuff on a consistent basis. I got on TV, I was in newspaper articles, and I literally just moved there. And everyone thought that I was super well connected and thought that I had lived there my whole life. And it all came from me starting to do something that I enjoyed, which was figure out what I can do and what kind of things I can share. So I passed that love onto the community, and I shared, here's things I enjoy doing, here's what's going on in the community, and it became the whole thing on its own. It took off, and it was so powerful. So you can do something like this in your area. You can do it specifically in your farm. You could do it in your town or your city. It can be very specific. It could be something you do weekly, monthly, depending on how in depth you want to go. But by becoming that community ambassador, it shows that you care about the community, and it shows that you want to give back, and you're well connected as well. So this is very impactful and very powerful if you do it correctly. And then lastly is to give back to the community. And this is something that is super important, and when done correctly, can be very powerful for your business. But you have to give back. If you're going to serve the community and they're going to be trusting you with their business, and if you're going to be doing farming consistently, giving back should be a big part of what you do. And there's all different ways you can do that. You could do food drives, clothing drives, or toy drives. That's one of the easiest things to get set up and run. It doesn't take you a lot of money. It just takes some time. And it's a great way to promote yourself and get in front of people. You could organize an area cleanup. Maybe you've got a park in your area that needs to clean up. Maybe there's some ditches that need to be cleaned out. It's a great way to encompass the green lifestyle right now, and showcase what's happening in the community and how you can make an impact. And you can physically see that. Again, you could have some promotions and some giveaways from some of the local businesses as thank yous for people doing that. You could champion a cause in the community. So maybe there's something that's going on that needs some attention. Maybe there's something that needs to get fixed, or maybe there's something that people want to bring attention to in your community. And if you champion that cause and become the person who spearheads that, again, it helps connect you to the community. You could donate to local charities. The only thing with that, I always stress, is that be careful on which charities you donate to. It can be polarizing. The other reason why is that sometimes it's hard to make a donation and tie that to real estate and do that in a tactful way. A lot of people donate money and then just want all this exposure. If it's something you care about and you're passionate about, by all means do that. Just make sure that you're able to do it and you're not trying to sound salesy and when you're doing that. Supporting local businesses. You could do a whole business support campaign. You could get, again, doing local business interviews. You'd be doing giveaways. All different things you can do to help support those local businesses. You could volunteer and get involved in things that are going on in the community. And lastly, you could sponsor a team event. This is one of my least favorites. And the only reason why it's not as high as it is most people, if you are sponsoring a team, it's usually because they have a kid that's playing the sports, and that's why they sponsor it. If you're there and you're engaged and you're interactive, great. But if you're just dropping some money to put your name on the back of a t-shirt, it doesn't have the same effect as some of these other things, and won't have the same connection or reach as a lot of the things we've talked about. So you can do it, but my caveat to that is make sure that you are engaged and you're part of the group and actually spending time and resources. So the next one is online and offline, and I call this integrated farming. And the key with online and offline marketing, and this is where Elite Marketing does a great job at doing marketing, and if you haven't used their service, this is an awesome way to tie some of these things together, is learning to tie some offline marketing to online and vice versa. A lot of times people trying to keep things separate, they just do an offline marketing. They may send out a postcard and there's nothing else to do with that. They're not driving traffic anywhere. They're not trying to reach people in a different way. When you combine online and offline, you're reaching people in different ways, in that some people will respond to an online offer, some people respond to an offline offer, some people want to be followed up with online, but they maybe found out a bit about it offline. So we have to make sure that we're connecting with people in different ways. And by doing this integrated farming, you're reaching a broader audience, you're reaching people in different ways. It also helps create more visibility and connection in the community, where maybe they saw your thing online, maybe they saw your social media and they saw your post, but then they also saw the postcard you sent out. They saw the flyers that you sent out, and then they also saw a Facebook ad that you did, or a Google pay-per-click ad. And by doing it, it leverages these two important mediums together if you do it correctly. It also ties in with some of the other methods we've talked about today, and we're going to talk about, is that you can tie into online and offline with some of these strategies, but you have to make sure you're doing it correctly. And for some people, it may be difficult to execute well and do them together well. So some agents may struggle with the online component or maybe the offline. So hiring someone like Elite Marketing can help with that. If you're not sure how to do that, if you're not sure how to tie it together, speak with someone who can help you do that, or take some of my training. I can help you with that as well. But learning to balance that is going to help create more opportunities for you. And then depending on what you're doing, if you can offset some of the online or the costs from the offline to the online. Again, if you've ever done mass mailouts, you know how it can be very expensive, and you can reach people in different ways. So you can maybe balance your budget a bit if you're doing some online stuff and some offline, and finding that balance that works for you. So I'm going to share 3 different strategies that we can use for online and offline. So the first is a nosy neighbor. So this is a program that I use through Agent Locator. It's a company that I love. There's different programs out there that are like this, but really what it is letting people know about properties that are coming up on the market. So you could use a drip, just like you would for a buyer drip, but you could set up listings for people in the community that are doing this to let them know what's happening in the area. This is a great opportunity because you can drive traffic from offline to online. We send out these postcards. Looks similar to this. I took this and created it into a long postcard, and then in here it said the website to go to, and we sold it as they can find out what's going on in the area. This is great because you can use this in prospecting, you can use this in flyers, you can use this if you're door knocking, you can use it at open houses, you can use this on social media. This kind of strategy works in so many different ways for offline and online, and it brings people into your database. If you've never done anything like this before, you have to make sure you're set up to be able to capture leads and do it correctly. But something like this can be very powerful and, again, help differentiate you from others in the neighborhood, because most people aren't going to be doing stuff like this, especially if you're doing all the other stuff or some of these other strategies. It will really create a cohesive a brand for you. The next one is creating Facebook groups. So Facebook groups are super powerful, and there's multiple reasons why. I literally have an hour session just on Facebook groups that I teach on how important it is. There's different ways you can use Facebook groups, but the reason why Facebook groups are so powerful is because it creates a conversation. And many agents set up a Facebook page, and that's great, but the difference between a Facebook group and a Facebook page are very different. And the best way to describe it is Facebook groups are speaking with people, and Facebook pages are speaking at people. People like to speak with people. People like to have conversations. People like to engage and create organic conversations. You can accomplish that with Facebook groups because it's more organic. There's more content that's being shared from other people. It's not you just pushing your message out there. It creates a more hyper-local traction if you do it correctly. If you do neighborhood specific or things that are around your area, you're getting more localized people that are a part of that. You're getting people that are part of the group because they want to interact. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, but these Facebook groups can be very powerful when done correctly. And there's a few different ways you can use it well. There's neighborhood groups. So you could create a group around the neighborhood that you focus on. You could do real estate specific groups. So things that are happening with real estate, there's less people, but there's more interest in that, the people that are a part of that about real estate. You could do a things to do group or interest specific. And another one that you can add on would be a client Facebook group as well. A lot of agents have done really well with that. But that's not as much about farming specifically. It's more about your database and your past clients. But Facebook groups are, in my opinion, extremely underutilized and not as well understood or used as well as they could. And when done correctly, I've seen some incredible things happen with their Facebook groups. I just had a call with someone yesterday that's going to be on my show. He built an amazing Facebook group where he went in competing against someone else who already had a Facebook group. And he said they've done $10 million this year from their Facebook group, from the connections they've made. I know agents who've done incredibly well with using Facebook groups and done it very impactfully. But again, it does take time and take some energy to put together and do. Last one is an online scavenger hunt, or you can do it online that turns to offline. And the cool thing with this is you can tie some of the things we've already been doing into this kind of scavenger hunt. My youth group, when I was church, when I was a kid, we did an in-person scavenger hunt. We've done this thing for my niece's birthdays and for some of my friends' birthdays. And if you've ever done them, they're super fun, but you can do like a cell phone scavenger hunt or a video scavenger hunt where people go out into the community. They have to take photos or videos and go out and snapshot. So they're kind of cryptic things. So it could be find a statue with a flag, or find a restaurant that starts with an H, or different. You can come up with different things. And the great thing with this is, again, you can tie in some of those local businesses that you've been working with to help promote them. So maybe they have to stop off at some of those restaurants or businesses or things that you're promoting to get a picture taken with them. They can be giving some of the prizes. You can put this all together and you do it in one evening. And it's a great way to get out and get people into the community and be part of the community and tie that into you're the ambassador, that you're giving back to the community and you're part of it. This can be done online and offline. You could go out and door knock in person. You could send out flyers to let people know about this. You could be doing this with Facebook ads or social media ads. This is something that people have fun with. It's something that's great because it creates content for online, because if they're taking photos and pictures, you can use that in your marketing. You can get the teams to take a picture up and share that. It just creates a really good time and a fun time. And it's very, again, easy to put together. Doesn't take a whole lot of time. It's just getting it out and promoting it, but you have to think outside the box. And then we have prospecting. This is the one that people don't like doing. A lot of times agents, when they hear the word prospecting, they cringe a bit. They don't like doing prospecting because they're afraid of it. And the truth is, you need to be doing prospecting. Again, if we want to have a balance, that prospecting is going to help us create more opportunities and different opportunities. And this is what I consider lead farming. With prospecting, it can be very inexpensive. And this is why most people do prospecting. You could go out and door knock or cold call, and it doesn't have to cost you anything other than your phone bill each month and your shoes that you're going to wear going and door knocking. It can be very inexpensive. However, it can be very time consuming from time and energy. And some people they dread it and they get bogged down and they don't like doing it. But the truth is, if we do it correctly, and if we do it with some of the other things we've talked about and tie it in together, it can be more fun, more enjoyable, and you can actually get more out of it. The other thing with prospecting is you're constantly looking for that next deal. If you've ever built a business based on prospecting, you're constantly having to look for that next deal. Just like hunting, you have to go out and find your next kill. You have to be looking for that next business. And if you stop, if you slow down, if you change things, your business can start to dry up. That's why we want to have prospecting in there mixed in with some of the other strategies that we're doing. The nice thing with prospecting, though, is you can target some warmer leads. So for sale by owners, expireds, if you're in the States, open houses, distressed sales, you can be more intentional with how you prospect and get in front of people who are more likely to make a move if you do it correctly. And as I mentioned, a lot of agents can get burnt out from doing this. I know very few agents who can do this consistently for an entire career. You may have good spurts where you do it and you kind of get rolling with it. This is why I like prospecting with mixed in with things, so you can do it and manage it and not feel like all you're doing is prospecting and all you're doing is just going out and trying to find someone who's looking to make a move. However, I'm going to share a few strategies you can use that will make your prospecting hopefully a little easier and can tie into your farm well. So one of the best ways to do prospecting is what I call reverse prospecting. A lot of times when we think of prospecting, we think of going out there and trying to find someone who's looking to make a move. We say, we've heard the scripts. Have you thought about making a move, or would you make a move? Do you know anyone's making a move? The great thing with reverse prospecting is that we're using leads that we already have to go out there and try to help them further their goal. At the same time, we're trying to create more opportunities for us. So you could go out there for a new buyer that you've got and you're trying to find them a new home. That's a great reason to go out there and reverse prospect. So you're out in the neighborhood, you're letting people know that you've got a buyer looking in this area. It makes it easier to go out to and do, because you actually have a reason to go out and prospect. You're doing the job that your buyer has hired you to do, which is try to help find them a home. And it gives you an opportunity to get in front of more people. Or maybe you've got a new listing coming up and you now can take that listing, instead of just promoting it, you're going out there and letting people know there's a new listing. You could be inviting them to an open house. You could be inviting them to find out more about the property. And when we do reverse prospecting, it kills two birds with one stone, in that, again, we're working for our client and we're creating more opportunities. There's a ton of different opportunities you can do under reverse prospecting. In my boot camp that I run, I have a whole session just on reverse prospecting and all the different opportunities, but you have to think about prospecting differently. And again, if you're just looking at it from the aspect of trying to find someone who's looking to make a move, you're going to miss out. So when you do reverse prospecting, it becomes easier, becomes better and more fun for people to do it. However, you have to have a legitimate buyer or seller if you're going to do this. There's some agents who are out there who are sneaky and they pretend they've got a buyer or seller and they go out there and it's not very effective and not very moral, in my opinion. The next one is an online coffee. So make it easy for people to meet you. With everything that's happened over the last couple of years with COVID, people are worried about meeting people in person. They're more hesitant than they used to be. Used to be able to easily go out and meet people. If you've never done this before, try having appointments via Zoom or by phone or by any type of video chat. It allows people to make it easier to meet people. It also creates an opportunity to stand out and do something different. Some people also are going to appreciate that because they have a small window of time. So maybe you can meet them during that time, but meeting them in person might be difficult. Maybe they can't travel. Maybe they have health conditions and they can't go out. And I put this under prospecting because it really is prospecting when you do it correctly, because you're converting prospects that you have and you're meeting face-to-face, quote unquote, but you're doing it in a different way. Again, if you have websites, you can set up a scheduling system that you can use to book a time if they want to meet with you. You can send out times and meetings with them. If you use Zoom, which most people at this point, you're all on it. You've used Zoom. People are so accustomed now to using Zoom. It becomes easier to put into your business and allow other people to use it and create more opportunities for them as well. And then lastly, sharing in neighborhood needs and wants. This is something you should be doing on a consistent basis, especially in your farm. What I mean by that is if you've got buyers looking for something, you should be promoting that. If you've got sellers coming up, you should be promoting that. A lot of people don't promote their leads, and it's similar to reverse prospecting. They don't get out there and use them and don't leverage them to get more business. I would be doing an ongoing segment consistently with video saying, hey, this is what we've got coming up. Could be buyers or sellers, and sharing that with an audience. If you've got a newsletter, you should be using that in your newsletter. That's something we did in ours. We had a section called Client Corner. We had our buyers are looking for, we had our sellers are offering, and we would send that out each month. And we let people know when we have a buyer, hey, we're going to put you in our newsletter. That helped convert more. When we had a listing, we say, hey, if you work with us, as soon as you get the listing, it's going to go out into the newsletter as well. Using social media to post out there on an ongoing basis. If you're in Facebook groups, which we just talked about, using Facebook groups is a great place to be promoting, hey, we've got buyers looking for this, or hey, we've got a seller coming up with this, and it creates buzz and it creates interaction. And then also you should be promoting this with other agents. And I don't mean spamming them. You want to make sure that agents are okay with you sending this message and you connect with them. But when you become the go-to in a farm and you become that agent who people know is the go-to, they start coming to you with opportunities, or they're looking for opportunities from you. And I've done a number of deals in my farm and outside of my farm because agents knew that we had specific buyers or sellers in that area, because we focused on that area, and they were able to line up off-market deals or bring us extra buyers that they may not have known about. So you should be networking with other agents and building rapport. My friend Adam, when he built his business, he had a little farm that he was focusing on, and almost half of his deals came from the agents that he's connected with. And he had a list that he put them on, and he said, do you want to be kept in the loop when I get listings in the area? And they all said yes. He then used that to go to his sellers and say, hey, I've got a list of X amount of agents, and as soon as we get on the market, I'm going to blast it out to them. They want to be kept up to date and they want to know what's going on. And he was able to line up deals, and it just creates more opportunities. So think about the leads you've got or are going to get, hopefully using some of the marketing strategies we're talking about, and think about how you can share what they're looking for in different ways throughout your farm. And then lastly is education. And this is one that is super important and mostly underutilized by most agents, is they don't educate their clients. And this is what I call information farming. The great thing with education-based farming is that it can be layered in with all the other strategies that we've talked about. You can use educational components in your lead generation. You can use it in your self-promotion. You can use it in your online and offline. You can use it in the community, and it allows you to create more value to people. It allows you to help position you as that expert and the ambassador. It allows you to create opportunities to generate leads. It allows you to create opportunities to add value to the leads you get. It also creates opportunities for you to follow up with and create a long-term value with them. But you have to think differently than most people. It's not just talking about how great you are. It's not just talking about how many homes you've sold. That's not educational. So you want to think about it in a different way. The nice thing with educational-based marketing, it can be done very inexpensively. It doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. It doesn't have to cost you a lot of time. And you can do it very simply. And again, with the right curating, you can create some really great pieces. And it's also easy to create regular marketing pieces that you can use as educational based materials and lead generation based. But you have to be consistent with it. You can't send marketing or an educational piece not once and then wait 3 months or 6 months and try to send something again. If you're going to do something, do it consistently. And we'll share in a second how we can do that. The other nice thing is there's a lot of resources and tools out there that you can use that will help position you as an expert. And it doesn't have to cost you a lot of time or money to do that. So we're going to share some of the different ones we can do. Newsletters are one of my favorite things to do. And a lot of people say, well, newsletters are dead. They don't work. And the reality is newsletters have never been dead. Crappy newsletters have been dead. Crappy newsletters suck. Crappy newsletters will always suck and people won't care. The nice thing is when we do geographic farming and we're focusing on an area, we can create content that is relevant to people, that's important to people, and that people actually want to get. If you're just sending out newsletters that are real estate specific, you want to make sure that you're creating more than that. There's only so many people that are going to resonate with that. So we want to make sure that we're tying in other things. And this is where the scope method can help, creating other opportunities in our newsletter. But you can do things like community events and things to do, which we've already talked about. Any neighborhood news, any things that are happening in the community that people want to know about. You could share some funny and heartwarming stories around the community and things that have happened. You could have contests and giveaways from some of the businesses and from people that are in the community. You could offer free reports and guides, educational materials and pieces that you can use to get more people to put their hand up. You can do a best of series. So maybe a best restaurants in the area or best places to go shopping or best trails to go on. This again helps create more intention and create more content for people around the community. You could do you could highlight local businesses. Again, if we've been doing that, what we talked about in the beginning, you can use your newsletter to highlight those local businesses, do a spotlight on them, share some great stories about them, information about them. You can have quizzes, games, or challenges. Really, the sky's the limit. You just have to create content that is relevant and people are going to want to read. We had a newsletter. We sent it out to 450 people, which we tied it with our neighborhood home price report, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And it was something that was our biggest lead generator because it kept people engaged. It created value for them and it created opportunities for us to stay in touch with people each month on an ongoing basis. And they wanted to get it. They asked for the newsletter. It wasn't something we sent to everyone. It was something we sent to people who put their hand up and requested this. And it creates more of an impactful response because people wanted it. So newsletters can work incredibly well, but you have to be willing to put the time in and do it correctly. The next thing is neighborhood home price report. This is something I teach. This is something that is, again, like I said, this is how we built our farm between a neighborhood home price report. And we did a neighborhood home price report for our area. There's 3,600 homes in the area. We had 450 people getting our report each month. And our report was basically a sales report. It also tied in the newsletter, and it was a good educational piece that kept people up to date. And we let people know what was happening in that farm specifically. Nice thing with this is it allowed us to stand out, and it wasn't just sending average days on market or average home prices. We were showing them what homes were selling for. We were showing them details. And because they asked and requested it, we were able to send them information directly because they were requesting it. We didn't mail this out to everyone. This was an exclusive thing that they had to request. They had to get signed up for to get it. And it was our way to generate leads. So we got people to put their hand up. We got people to request it, and we could send it on an ongoing basis. And the amazing thing is, we tracked the turnover rate, which, if you don't know, is how many homes sell divided by how many homes there are in the area in 1 year. And it was over 2 times the turnover rate of the people that were getting a report versus the average overall. So what that means is the people who are getting a report were more than 2 times as likely to make a move. So the people that were getting this are hotter candidates, are hotter people that we want to follow up with because they're more interested in what's going on. They want to be kept in the loop, and they were hotter prospects. So we know that we had 450 people that were twice as likely to make a move than the average person in the area. So this report was a great way to stay in touch with people, add value to them, and use that as an educational and an ongoing marketing piece. And then lastly is to create an educational area guide. These guides can be done extremely well. Again, Elite Marketing can help you create these, I'm sure, to put together a nice package, and you can use these on an ongoing basis. The cool thing with an area guide is, again, it helps position you in 2 different ways. It shows the community that you're serving that you are in the loop, you are the go-to person, you are the person who's connected in the area, and that you're supporting the community. It also helps support people who aren't from the area, who may be looking to move to the area, to show them that you are the person who's the go-to, you are educated, you know what's going on, and it allows you to really win on both sides. These local area guides are great because it takes some work up front to put them together, but once they're done, you can literally just have to update them each year, or each quarter, or each half a year, depending on how often you do it. And you can use that as a way to generate leads. You can use it as an educational piece. If you got new buyers coming in, you can offer it to any leads that you've got. And it also, again, can tie in some of the other things that you've been working on, and you can use that in your area guide. It helps raise your trust. It helps raise your positioning in the community as that ambassador and go-to person. So you can do things like things to do in the community, which we've talked about, utility companies, schools, parks, and important contacts of people in the area, the garbage pickup schedule, or any unique aspects. There's all different things you can put in this guide. The key is using this as an educational piece that you can offer on an ongoing basis to stay educated and to keep people informed, and as a lead magnet. If you do this correctly, you can add a ton of value and do it very easily. So now that we've gone through the 15 strategies, the key is really what I call strategy stacking, is learning to tie these strategies together and leveraging them so that you are creating the most opportunity and not letting people slip through the cracks. Just like a net, if you've ever seen, I talked about a safety net, it creates a mesh that was going to catch people. And what we do is we use our strategies and we tie them together to create more opportunities. If you're just doing postcards alone, that's not going to capture enough people. But if you do postcards plus open houses, plus a neighbor and home price report, plus local businesses, now those start to tie together, and you can then leverage the different platforms to work it together. If you have a newsletter, you can promote your local businesses interviews. You can also offer an ad for a neighbor and home pricing report in there. And then you can highlight some of the things you're doing in the community in that, and it starts to tie together. And when you do it correctly, it increases the likelihood of your business is going to succeed, and you're going to get more out of it. One of the people I had on my show, this is exactly what he talked about. He was doing farming in a different way in the past and had okay success with it. And then he said he learned to really tie that together and leverage them together. And he said I think he tripled his business in his farm because he said it was more efficient. He was reaching more people. It was more effective. And he said it was just so much better. And he enjoys doing his farming that much more. If you've ever played the game of Kerplunk as a kid, this is something I love playing. And you want to think of your business kind of like this game of Kerplunk. If you've never played it, there's a bunch of sticks that go in these little holes, and it holds up these marbles. And then the game is to pull out the sticks. And the more you pull out, the more likely the balls are going to drop. The key with creating strategy stacking sessions is that you want to layer them together so that it holds up your marbles. And those marbles is your farm. The more of them we have, the more likely we are to get business from it. But the more likely, or the more that they're strategically overlapping, the more likely it's going to stay together. You could have 10 of them all over here and there's a whole gap in your business. This is why we want to use that scope method to find any gaps in our business, to say, where am I missing opportunities? Where am I losing business? Where could I be getting more business from? Or how can I be getting in front of more people? And we use strategy stacking and the scope method to make sure that we create that opportunity so that we don't lose business. And then once we do that, then we can scale up. We can add in more strategies. We can add in more approaches if we want to, or figure out what works and doesn't work. So as you go forward, think about your business this way and have some fun with it, because when you do it correctly, it can be a lot of fun. So if you're looking for some extra help, you want to get some more details and information, I'm going to share what's next. You can check out my website. It's launchyourfarm.com. My show is on there. You can access it. It's on Spotify, iTunes, all the major platforms. You can access it there in the top page. You can find it there. There's blogs are there. I have some courses and other great information, so you can check that out. As promised, I'm going to be giving away 1 month for free of my Launch Your Farm Elite program. So everyone who attends gets this for free. I'm going to drop the link in the chat in just 1 second. As soon as I'm done here, you can get 1 month for free. Absolutely. There's no cost, no obligation. There's no long-term commitment to it. You can try it out. There's months and months and months of resources already there, so you can go back and check out. We have got live training once a month with Q&As there. We have a monthly challenge that helps get you into action. We have an exclusive workshop we offer each month as well, so it's from different trainers and companies that I love. There's weekly marketing cheat sheet in there, so it helps give you some tips and tricks to get you started with your social media and your marketing overall. We also get access to my show early before anyone else gets it. There's bonus giveaways. There's a private Facebook group and some extra goodies in there as well. So you can use the link in the chat. If the link doesn't work, or if the code doesn't work, you can use Elite free at checkout, but I'm going to drop it in right now. So give me 1 sec. I'm going to just hit enter. I had it pre-typed in there. So you can access that. And you get a 1 month for free. Again, there's no cost, no obligation. It's a great way to get some great resources, and there's a lot of great content in there. So if you wanted to take your farm to the next level, there's a ton of ideas and strategies you can use in there. Again, no cost absolutely at all. So I'm going to wrap up with my final thoughts, and then we'll jump into some questions. So I always share these 3 things when I do these trainings, and I think it's important. These are the 3 key things you have to do if you want to succeed in farming. The first is you have to be committed to learning. You're here, you're willing to learn, which is awesome. That learning is going to be what's going to differentiate you from anyone else. A lot of agents get into business and they get comfortable and they stay stagnant. And the reality is, if you stop learning or aren't committed to constantly learning, your business is going to dry up. Rules are going to change, strategies are going to change, dynamics are going to change, and your business can absolutely falter, if you will. And I've seen a lot of agents who aren't committed to constant growth have amazing businesses, and then they start to peter out. So you have to be committed to learning. And that's the first key step. The second step is you have to commit to farming. If you're going to commit to farming, you have to be committed long-term. Yes, there are strategies like we talked about today that can help speed up that process. But if you're not in this for the long haul, don't do it. I always tell agents, if you're not committed to at least a year of trying it, but if you do it correctly, it's not even trying, you're just making the commitment because it's going to work. You have to be committed. I've seen more people come to me and say, I tried farming. And I ask, what did you do? And they say, I sent out some postcards, I tried this. And then I ask how long, and it's usually 3 months. And the reality is most people fail miserably at 3 months because they don't know what they're doing. They haven't created systems in place. They haven't put things in place. They haven't leveraged themselves. They haven't got some extra help to do it. And their business flops and they give up. And more people have given up on farming. I spoke with more people who have quit farming because they didn't stick with it than people who have succeeded with it. So if you're going to do it, you have to be committed. And the agents who are committed, you'd be amazed at the difference in their business and how much more business they can get when they're committed. And then lastly, you have to start. Just like a real farm, just like a real seed. If I don't plant that, nothing's going to grow. And the longer it takes for me to plant that, the longer it's going to take for me to get my harvest. If you take a day longer, it's going to be a day longer to see the results. If you take a week longer, a month longer, a year longer, I've talked to many agents who said, I'm going to farm, I'm going to start. The longer it takes, the more likelihood that someone else is going to come in, the likelihood that their strategies are going to change, the likelihood that you're just not going to do it. So if you're willing to do it and you want to get started, make sure you write out what you're going to do. And this is scientifically proven. If you write out your step, tell someone about it and take action on it in the next 40 hours, you drastically increase your chances. Tell your friend, tell your partner, tell your coworker, tell your boss, whoever it is, what you're going to do, write it out and go take action on it. If you want, you can send it to me. I'll be happily look at it and help trying to hold you accountable. Not many people have taken me up on it, but the ones who have been successful with their business. So if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to commit and you're willing to get started, you will start to see results, but you have to be willing to do that. So open up for questions. If you have any, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I know I threw a lot at you, a lot of different strategies, but happy to answer any questions you have about farming or business as a whole.
If you have questions, please feel free to either unmute yourself or put them in the chat, put your hand up.
No?
Just go,
Oh.
just while we wait there, I don't see anybody at this time, but feel free to raise your hand in the meantime. Sorry, I heard somebody there. Some muting. Ryan, you got me right pumped. Oh, we have Sam. Sam says, hey, do you have a question, Sam?
How do you choose your farm?
Choose your farm.
That's a long loaded question. I have a whole program designed to that. Just for that, it's a 30-day program. The key with choosing a farm is not what most people say, and a lot of times people have heard it. I'm sure you've all heard. It's choose a farm with the best turnover rate, and the reality is that is a way to choose a farm, but it's not the best way to choose a farm or the only way to choose a farm. And the reason I explain that is the way I explain that is it's like saying that the best way to check my health is my blood pressure. That's one metric that I use to check my health. I could have high cholesterol. I could have low blood sugar. I could be overweight. So the thing is, you have to look at a number of things when you're choosing your farm, and there's a number of different factors that you want to choose. It's different for each person. So what's a good neighborhood for me may not be a good neighborhood for you. It pays on your goals, your budget, your time, your resources. But there's a couple things that are important that you want to focus on. So turnover rate is important. Competition is important. So if there's any competition in the area, price point and style of homes is important. So do you want to go after a luxury market? Do you want to go after a lower price market? Do you want to go in between? There are things like the community involvement. How many people are active in the communities? Sometimes you have these like bedroom communities that are cold and no one really connects and talks to each other. There's some vibrant communities that can be an amazing opportunity. What are the local businesses in the area? Are they active and engaged? Do you have connections in the area? So there's a lot of things that you want to look at, and then you kind of have to look holistically as a whole and say, okay, what's going to be the best fit for me? And that's why I say for you, maybe a different strategy than me. Someone may be in the States where they have homeowners associations and you're gated communities and you can't get into them. So if you want a door knock, that might not be a good opportunity. Someone may live in downtown Toronto and have condo buildings and it's a different market. So you have to look at the strategies, then you have to look at your budget and then decide what's going to work for you. So it's not as simple as here's how you choose a farm. There's a lot of factors in choosing a farm. However, it's not that hard to do once you understand those key things. Then it becomes a lot easier. And then it just becomes commit to it and start doing it. And I've seen so many agents not farm because they hide behind the fear of, I got to choose the perfect farm. And they keep looking for this perfect farm and they keep looking and they never do anything with it. I'd rather see you pick a terrible farm than wait for the perfect farm for 3 years and miss out. So that's something you want to, look at as a whole.
Ryan, Sam's second part of his question was if the area is occupied by a dominant agent or dominant agents. And I mean, we've seen that as well.
Yep.
That's a factor too, I imagine.
Yeah. And that's in the competition section. However, what I will say is I can tell you 9.5 times out of 10, there isn't a dominant agent that I'd be ever worried about. I can tell you because I teach farming. I know what's out there and what people are doing. 99% of people are not farming. They're not farming at a high level. There are agents who may be doing a lot of business in your area, but it doesn't mean they're farming your area. Example, in Burlington, there's a couple big teams in the area. They do that business because they just do that volume of business overall. They're not farming the area. So you have to look at, are they actually farming the area? Are they farming it well? Are they farming it in a way that is different than you could do it? So you could be doing different. They also have to check for the trends of that person. I can give an example in Binbrook. There's an agent that used to farm that area and she had 17% market share. And over the course of 5 years, she went from 17% market share to like 1 or 2% market share because she lost momentum. She lost the connection with people. She wasn't doing what was working. So you want to see, do they actually have market share? And most people think that agents have more market share than they actually do. And that's where I always tell people in one of my courses, I say, go do the actual numbers and find out what they have, because most people are blown away. And I have a lot of people come back and say, holy smokes, they don't do nearly as many deals as I thought they did. I assume they did because they see their name more often. So most times the competition really isn't a big factor in it. But if it is, then move on to another area and try to find something else that might be more fitting. So.
Great. Okay. Next question is from Maria. She says, how do you brand your neighborhood?
So the way I like to do it is brand a visual around the name if you can, like the orchard. We picked an apple orchard. It was an apple orchard, so we picked an apple tree. If it's Pinedale is an area in Burlington, you could do Pinedale home team. So it's not about your name, it's about the community. Now you may have a name, an area, or a pocket that you're focusing on that isn't very visual. You may want to use some visual landmarks or things that are in the community that you can use to tie to create a visual representation around that. If you can't, then you might have to get creative and hire elite marketing to help you create the logos and branding around that. The key is using the name in it of if it's a named area, or creating a name. And I'll share the story with that too. Is a good friend of mine, Adam. He's one of my first coaching clients. I helped him out when he was getting started, and he chose this tiny little area. And there wasn't a name. It was like a highway was cutting it off. There's this tiny little pocket. There was, I think, like 280 homes, and there's a road that came through. That's just the main road, and he named it after that road. And it was a few years ago. It was I can't think of it now. Anyways, he named it that area homes. It was just the main, because everyone knows, because they had to go through that road to get through there, and that's how he named it. I grew up in Fort Erie. There's an area called Crescent Park. There's a Crescent Park, so you can name after the park or a landmark or things like that. So you have to get creative. Sometimes you can create names. There's an area that's a new area in Fort Erie where I grew up. It's now growing, but there really isn't a name to it. So you could be the person who names the area. You could be the one who kind of creates that brand around it if you choose to. So it's really tying, if you can, a visual name around it and a visual representation, and then create a brand around that if you can. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Next question is from Farah. She says, how can you do farming if you're open to work in both the East and the West Ends?
Pick one and narrow down, and then narrow down even more, and narrow down even more. And I always say, one of my mantras is, it's better to scale up than it is to scale back. And the mistake that most agents, when I see them fail, and the reason why most agents fail, is they think that they have the fear of missing out and they try to go too big with their farm. I've seen more people succeed with small farms at a high level than agents going after big farms. And I've seen agents try it and they think, well, I'm different. I've got a better approach. I've got a better strategy. Unless you're Bill Gates or Warren Buffett with a ton of money, you're going to blow through your money. You're going to blow through your time. And that's the big thing too. It's not just the money, it's the time. Can you properly farm two different areas? Can you properly farm? Most people can't. So if you're considering it, pick one of the two areas. And then even that, try to find a sub farm within your farm if you can to start. And again, my friend Adam, I was talking about, he had 280 homes. He got 8 out of the 11 sales after farming this tiny little pocket. And then I've seen people try to farm 5,000 homes and get 2 listings out of it. So it's better to be small and be impactful and intentional with it than try to farm multiple areas. The other thing is, if you've got 2 different areas, try one, use that as your guinea pig, use it as your laboratory, test out what works, test out what doesn't work, get all your systems in place. Once you get it figured out, then you can move it over to the other end if you want to, but you're going to spread yourself out too thin. You're not going to get the results being spread out. And I can promise you that I've interviewed hundreds of agents on farming, and not many of them have done well by going too big. So hopefully that helps.
That's true of any marketing prospecting avenue. I agree. Cheryl asked a very similar question, which you may have just answered, but let's read it anyway. I live in a very small area, so I work in 3 communities, each unique. Farming one isn't big enough, a big enough population. Is it counterproductive to farm 2 or 3 different areas? Say they're, little micro areas. Yep. Would that make sense for her?
Yeah. And I would beg to differ and say that when you say it's not big enough, it probably is big enough than compared to what you think. I'm not saying you can't do the other areas, but start with one first and get your systems in place, get everything down pat before you try to do that. Most people don't realize how much business you can actually get from those small areas. And I've had some mega agents doing incredible. Jenny Wiemert is a friend of mine. I've had her on the show a couple of times. She's from Orlando, and she started with an area of 800 homes, and she got 80% market share. That's huge. And then she expanded another area and got 50% market share. But then as she expanded and got bigger, she got less and less market share. And she said, we need to go back to what worked in that small area and focus on those small things, because you have more time, more attention, more resources, and are able to put that into your area. So I don't know how big your 3 areas are, but I would urge you to really figure out one area first. Pick one of the best ones first if you can. Now you can have 3 different brands. That's something we did. So we had our brand, the Orchard, then we expanded and took over another area once we kind of got to the point where we were happy with what we had. And then we took over another area. And then our plan was to have 3 different areas that were all kind of connected, but we started with one area first, really figured it out and really knocked it out of the park. I'll share you my numbers. So we started an area in September. We started January. We got our first listing. We got 17 transactions over 15 months. And that was from like cold, never sold anything in the area. And we just cranked it out. You can do that in multiple areas, but you have to get your systems in place, and you have to understand what to do first. If you don't know what you're doing, and if you haven't done it before, you've never farmed before, you're just going to spend more money and because you got to screw up. That's how you learn. You're going to screw up at a bigger scale in it. So you have to learn to kind of tweak it, and then you can always grow up. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah. So we are running out of time. So we'll just do this one last question. And then I know Megan wanted to offer everybody something exciting from us. Mohan asks, is there a big difference, or sorry, is there a different approach to farming a big condo building?
Yeah, the tricky part with condo buildings, and I get this asked a lot, is the access and be able to get in to connect with people. Typical people go out and door knock and do open houses in detached homes. The great thing is that stops a lot of people from doing that. So the key with condo buildings is creating, becoming that person who owns that building, you're doing resources, you're creating a Facebook group for the area, you're marketing to them, you are doing events if you can, if you're borrowing listings in the area if you can, you're running ads to the area if you can, you're getting in and doing educational seminars, you're trying to do anything you can to focus on that. It's just it comes down to access, and that's the struggle, is getting access to the building. But if you do it right, there's a lot of great agents that have done incredibly well with the condo building, because you can kind of lock it down because other people have the same struggles getting in.
Awesome. Okay. Meg?
There we go. I was muted. We also had Melanie said, I'd like to know more about elite marketing. Melanie, I'm going to be sending out an email to everyone who joined today. So you will have, information about us, as well as Ryan's information and both our offerings today. Ryan, like I said, I'm pumped. I am, as I used to sell myself, right? 9-10 years ago, and I was a neighborhood geofarming junkie. I moved into a new area. There was 198 homes, and I decided I'm going to farm this. And I had 16 transactions in
awesome.
In the first couple of years.
That's awesome.
And that was only knowing what I knew. Like, that was only like, I want to get out in this community and I want to know people. Like, I don't want to be a realtor. I want to be a neighbor.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's what built my business in that area. Guys, you have to reach out to Ryan. Okay. What he said here in an hour is just the surface of the knowledge that he has for geographic farming. Like I said, I am a pusher of geographic farming because I know personally that it works. And you have so much to offer. So please check out Ryan's website and what he has to offer. We also are going to, like I said, we recorded this, so I'm going to send a recording to everyone. And we are also offering some free design work. So there is so much to do with geographic farming. We here as a marketing agency do a lot of that, everything from neighborhood mailouts to social media, branding, design work. So we want to offer anybody that is going to be doing any neighborhood mail a free design with the neighborhood mail out. Please feel free to reach out to us as well if you have any marketing questions. I'm super excited. I think that you gave a really good boost to a lot of agents here that can go out and really kill it in a certain area. I know that you said we're running out of time. Does Ryan have an Instagram page?
I just dropped in. It's at Launcher Farm. You can find me at, if you find search Launcher Farm, you'll find me on Instagram, Facebook. I don't really use Instagram that much, but Facebook's the best way to get a hold of me. My page is launcherfarm.com. You can connect with me on there as well. And again, I dropped the link in there for the free month of the Elite. Take advantage of it. I promise you it's worth it because it's free and there's a ton of great value. You can go back to the library. There's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of training on there, so you can check all that out. There's no cost, no obligation. If you stick around, I hope you do. Other than that, you can check out any other training I have coming up. And I'm so thankful for being here, and I'm glad that you guys are excited to be part of this, and hopefully you guys get out and farm.
Thank you, Ryan. And like you said, I love it. Learn, commit, and start, right? So this is learning. Make the commitment, and this can be your starting point. awesome.
Exactly.
Jen, any final words of wisdom?
You took them all. No, all good. No, I love it. I love how fired up everyone is. This is going to be good for everyone's business.
Awesome. So like
Yeah.
I said, I'll be sending out an email to everyone with the recording. It was a lot of information, so please rewatch it. Please reach out to Ryan and please reach out to us if you have any questions.
Sorry, final thoughts. Just want to thank you, Ryan, for providing this free training. I know that you normally charge for it, so it's a big thing for our clients to get it. We really appreciate it. So thank you so much. Everyone else, thank you for coming. And if you follow us on Instagram or Facebook, we offer webinars, educational webinars once a month. And we'd be happy to offer this or something similar to you again next month. So thanks again, everyone, for coming.
Thank you so much.
Happy farming.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Have a great
everyone.
afternoon. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, Maria.
Thank you.